two homes hit the Bay Area market this spring. Same week, same price range, similar square footage. One in Santa Clara and one in Tri-Valley. The Santa Clara home went pending in 8 days, multiple offers over asking. The Tri-Valley home sat for 60. Same agent could have listed both, same staging, same pricing strategy, and one of those homes still would have sat. Hey, I'm Sana. I'm a Bay Area realtor. If you're thinking about selling in 2026, this video is an honest playbook. Not the 2021 version, not everything's a disaster version, the actual version where pricing your home right depends on understanding exactly which version of the Bay Area market you are sitting in. The Bay Area in 2026 is not one market, and anyone who tells you it is selling you something. Here is what I'm actually seeing right now, county by county. Santa Clara, San Mateo, San Francisco, still genuinely competitive, homes going pending in single-digit days. The high-tech corridors, Cupertino, Palo Alto, Mountain View parts of San Francisco, still seeing multiple offers and over-asking sales. Tight inventory. Buyers with cash from RSU sales and bonuses, motivated by job stability at big tech employers. Alameda County, more mixed. Fremont's 94539 zip code, anything in Mission San Jose attendance area, still moving super fast. But other parts of East Bay are seeing homes sit longer. Outer markets, Tri-Valley and parts of Peninsula away from the tech core. Anything outside good school boundaries is slower. Buyers are pickier. Days on the market are creeping up. And honestly, even within one single neighborhood, the market is different at different price tiers. A $2 million home in a great school district might have 10 buyers. The exact neighborhood's $3 million home might have one or none. Rates have settled into 6 to 6.5% range, but they are still highly volatile. Buyers have adjusted. They are back, but they are selective. So let's talk about how to actually price your home. There are 3 pricing strategies that work in this market. Which one you use depends entirely on which micro market you are in. Strategy 1 is aggressive underprice. The classic Bay Area play. You price about 5 to 8% below what you think it'll sell for. Goal is a flood of showings the first weekend, multiple offers, buyers competing, the price up. Now let's talk about when this strategy works. You are in one of the most hot micro markets, top school district, prime tech corridor, well under 3 million move-in ready. Comparable homes are selling in under 15 days with multiple offers. If that's not happening in your zip code right now, this is a wrong strategy in today's market. This strategy backfires in cooler micro markets. This just looks like you priced it low. Buyers don't feel the urgency, you leave money on the table. Second strategy, it is the market-aligned pricing. You price right, you actually believe what the home would sell for based on comparable home sales data that are going pending right now. Not what they listed at, not what they closed 3 months ago, what's actively in contract this week. Why pending sales matter more than closed sales? In a shifting market, closed sales are 3 to 4 months in the rear view mirror. That's old data. Pending sales tells you what buyers are actually willing to pay this week. Your agent should be pulling these for you and walking you through them line by line. This is the right strategy for most Bay Area sellers right now. It signals you are serious, it attracts qualified buyers, and it avoids the price reduction story that kills your listing credibility. Okay, moving on to strategy 3. It is strategic overprice. This one is used rarely. It only works for genuinely unique homes, like homes with custom architecture that have no real comps. You need to be prepared for 60 plus days on market. For almost everyone else, overpricing means buyers skip your home entirely and it sits while comparable homes sell around you. Let's talk about the 10-day window I talk about with every sellers. Your first 10 days on the market are your highest leverage days. Most foot traffic, most online views, most agent inquiries. Overprice and you're wasting those precious 10 days. By the time you reduce, you're no longer a fresh listing. You are a home with price reduction story, which is a worse story. One more thing, do not price off Zillow. The Zestimate is an algorithm that never been inside your home. I have seen them be off by $200,000 in either direction in the Bay Area. Okay, now let's talk about the pre-listing prep that protects your price. We have nailed the pricing. Next question, what do you actually do before listing to support that price? The single best thing you can do to protect your price is the pre-listing inspection. We find what's wrong. We either fix it or disclose it upfront and price accordingly. Okay, so why this matters? Negotiation doesn't end when you accept an offer. It often starts when the buyer's inspection comes back. I have seen buyers try to chip $30,000, $40,000 off the price for a leaky pipe and some dry rot. A pre-listing inspection puts you in control. No surprises means no ambush. So the next natural question would be, Sana, where to spend and where not to? Bay Area buyers paying $1.5 to $3 million don't want a project. They have demanding jobs, kids, real life. They want a move-in ready home, and move-in ready carries a premium that's often 2 to 3 times whatever you had spent to update the home strategically. A dated kitchen can drag the entire perceived value of your home down by $250,000 or more. But you don't need to do a full cut, just a strategic refresh. Think about new counters, painted or refaced cabinets, modern hardware, updated lighting. For $30,000 to $50,000, often moves the home into a higher comp bracket. Same logic for the bathrooms. The trap is to avoid over-customizing. Don't do designer wall pairs. Don't do ultra-specific paint colors, a wine cellar conversion. These reflect your life, not buyers. Stay neutral, stay current, stay specific. Okay, now let's talk about where not to spend. The roof, the furnace, the water heater. If any of this is old but still working fine, do not replace it preemptively. A seller getting nervous about a 25-year-old roof and spending $40,000 to replace it before listing, that will not get you the $40,000 back. Not in this market. Bay Area buyers paying $2 million for a home in great location aren't making their decision based on the roof. They are deciding based on the school district, commute, layout, and how the home made them feel. As long as the roof is functioning fine, it isn't actively leaking, they'll pay the top dollar. We disclose the age, we are upfront. We don't fix what works perfectly. This connects back to the pre-listing inspection. We are not looking for a clean report. We are looking for an honest one with no red flags. If the inspector flags that the roof is at the end of its usable life, we disclose. We don't hide it, we don't fix it. We price fairly knowing exactly what's there. Okay, so the next important step in pre-listing is the staging, and it is the most underrated pricing decision. Bay Area buyers at our price points aren't just buying a structure, they are buying a lifestyle. Staging is what makes them feel it. Empty homes photograph flat. Poorly staged homes look like a problem. Professionally and tastefully staged homes feel aspirational. And that emotional reaction is what drives over asking offers. Something most sellers don't realize is that staging can also hide a difficult floor plan, a weirdly shaped room, an awkward layout, a bedroom smaller than others. A good stager will solve these problems with furniture placement, scale, lighting, colors. Sellers who skip staging are essentially advertising every layout flaw their home has. And go with premium staging if you can. The difference between basic and premium in the Bay Area can be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on the final sale price. The good news for many of my listings, I cover the staging cost or roll it into listing strategies so it's not out of your pocket up front. Don't let the cost be the reason you skip it. Next up on our list is how your home gets marketed. This is where most Bay Area listings either succeed or quietly underperform. Most Bay Area realtors are still marketing their homes the way they did in 2015. 5 photos, a Zillow listing, maybe 1 open house. That worked when there were 10 buyers fighting over every home. It doesn't work in 2026. The Bay Area in 2026 has a huge segment of out-of-area buyers. Relocations from Seattle, New York, Texas, India, Singapore. They are not driving by your for sale sign. They are scrolling Instagram on a flight, searching YouTube on a midnight, watching TikTok in their kitchen hallway across the country. If your listing isn't where these buyers are looking, you are missing the buyers most likely to pay the most. So, what does modern Bay Area marketing actually look like? It's professional photography, beautiful natural light, twilight shots, those evening exteriors where the windows glow warm, consistently outperform daytime shots. Wide angle lenses edited carefully, but not so edited that the home looks fake when the buyers walk through. Out of area buyers can tour virtually before flying in. By the time they show up in person, they are serious buyers, not browsers. So 3D plans and interactive home tours are something we work on. We are not talking about the agent walking through narrating. We are talking about real cinematic video, drone footage of the exterior and neighborhood, smooth, slow walkthroughs, music. 3 to 5 minutes that buyers actually want to watch and share. Relocation buyers send these to their spouse, their parents, their friends who live in the Bay Area. Your listing gets shared across networks you'll never see. And here's something I do that's a little different. For many of my listings, I create a cinematic story video that gives the home itself a personality. Every Bay Area home has a story. The family who raised 3 kids in it, the garden the previous owner spent 20 years building, the kitchen where Sunday dinners happened for a decade. I weave that history into a short story-driven video that lets buyer feel the home's character. Not just see its rooms. It's not for every listing, but when it's right, it is the difference between a buyer making an offer and a buyer falling in love. Another important distinction is multi-platform distribution. Your home should be marketed wherever buyers are looking. Short form discovery on Instagram, on TikTok, long form on YouTube, professional on LinkedIn, direct opt-in on Substack and email. Each platform reaches a different buyer pool, and the buyer who pays the most might be sitting on a platform most agents ignore. The traditional stuff still matters. Broker tour, agent-to-agent mailers, strategic open houses. These still bring in serious buyers. Just don't make them your entire marketing plan. The buyer who pays the most for your home might be sitting in Seattle right now scrolling Instagram. If your listing isn't in their feed, you'll never know they existed. Or they'll never know you existed. Okay, you priced it right, prepped it right, marketed it right. A few technical things can still eat into your final number. So let's do some capital gains tax planning. The one I see sellers miss the most and the biggest dollar amount on the table. If you have owned your Bay Area home for 10, 15, 20 years, you have got a massive appreciation. The federal exclusion is $250,000 for single and $500,000 for married filing jointly. Anything over that in appreciation, you owe federal plus California state. For long-term Bay Area sellers, that bill is regularly $200K to $400,000, sometimes more in appreciation. So talk to your CPA before you list, not after, before. The real strategies like 1031 exchanges if it's an investment property, installment sales, timing only work before the transaction, not after. When we sit down for a consultation, I always run a seller's net sheet, a line-by-line calculation of what you actually keep after commissions, closing cost, capital gain tax, and withholdings. The gross sale price and the net can be hundreds and thousands of dollars on a Bay Area home. You deserve to know that real number before you make any decisions. I also wrote a full article on California capital gains for Bay Area homeowners. Link is in the description. The Prop 19 move most long-time owners don't know about. Quick one for anyone 55 or older who's owned their Bay Area home for a long time. Proposition 19 lets eligible homeowners transfer their existing property tax bases to a replacement home anywhere in California, up to 3 times in their lifetime. If you've owned a home since 1995 and you are paying property tax on a basis of $300K while your home is worth $2 million, you can sell, buy a different home anywhere in California and bring that low tax basis with you. The number one reason long-time Bay Area owners hesitate to sell isn't emotional. It is the property tax math. They look at downsizing and realize their property taxes would triple. And Prop 19 solves exactly that problem. There are rules though. Replacement within 2 years, value adjustments if you buy a more expensive home, but the core benefit is real. If you've been holding off because the property tax hit, this is the conversation worth having before you decide anything. Quick heads up, On November 2nd of this year, a new appraisal standard called UAD 3.6 becomes mandatory. Appraisals are about to be much more data-driven and much more scrutinized. Sellers worry about appraisals for one reason. A low appraisal can blow up a deal. Buyer's lender won't loan more than the appraised value. The buyer may not be able to make up the difference and your accepted offer falls apart. Here's how I solve for this. When the appraiser comes out, I hand them what I call an appraisal package, a folder with everything they need to do their job right. Upgrade list with receipts, permit history, square footage verified by a measurement service, ADU and solar documentation, and the pending sales data I used to price the home in the first place. So the appraiser has the same comps I do. A good appraiser does their own work, but a good appraiser also doesn't want to miss something. When I hand them a complete organized package on day one, the appraisal moves faster and they have everything they need to defend the value if anything gets questioned. For my sellers, this is biggest peace of mind pieces of the transaction. If you have solar, have your true-up bills and ownership paperwork ready. Owned solar is a value add. Lease solar can be a value drag because buyer has to assume the lease. And run the prelim title before your list, not after. I had a client whose great aunt was listed on the title from a 1987 transfer that nobody had cleaned up. Took 6 weeks to clear. If we would have found it after accepting an offer, we would have lost the buyer. None of these things is dramatic on its own, but each one has cost sellers tens of thousands of dollars or blown up entire deals when caught at the wrong time. That's the playbook. The agents still running 2021 playbooks are the ones struggling. The agents who understand what the market is actually doing right now are doing fine, and their clients are doing great. If you're thinking about selling in next 6 to 8 months and you want me to look at your specific home, your specific zip code, your specific situation, book a free 30-minute call. Link is in the description. We'll pull the pending sales in your micro market, look at where your home actually sits, figure out the right strategy, no commitment. If you find the information shared in this video helpful, please consider liking or subscribing it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.